goes Leon Rhymes. And can't fight the moonlight. Well, we can't fight asteroids, we can't find all these other things, and meteor showers that have been happening around the place at the moment. But I tell you what we can do some technical talk right now, and the man of the moment will be with us in just a moment.
It's time now for the latest news on what's hot and what's not in the world of technology, with Mathew Dickerson on Tech Talk, here on TCFM 88.9.
Morning, Matt. How are you?
Good morning. Did you get up early this morning and watch the meteor showers?
No. My bed's too comfortable at this hour. That hour.
Bit tougher when
you?
the temperature's a bit... I was actually up doing some work and I thought about it, and then I just kept doing some work and ended up going to bed about 4 o'clock this morning, and I didn't go outside, so I'm a bit annoyed with myself. Tomorrow morning.
Yeah. Tomorrow morning. You'll see it tomorrow. You'll see it the next few days anyway.
Yeah.
Now, I rang you earlier this morning, apart from all the stuff that you sent me about stories for Tech Talk, with the COVID safe. Now, apparently, if you download it and everything and you make a phone call, it goes into the background, and some people are saying once it's in the background it won't work properly. Is that the case?
Well, there are some issues with it actually working in the background, and this is the idea is it's meant to work in the background. It's meant to sit there in the background, you leave it on, and it just sits there and basically just has some Bluetooth contact with other phones that come nearby. But there are some issues, in particular at the moment, the version that's been released by the government in relation to iPhones. While it's sitting in the background, it doesn't seem to communicate via Bluetooth, which is obviously a part of a problem because that's the whole design of the actual app. So
Yeah, exactly.
there have been some problems with it draining battery when it is sitting there actually being used, and this is again on an iPhone. They did see some problems over in Singapore with exactly this issue, and unfortunately they didn't address that in the first issue or the first release that came out. They will fix this problem. The idea is that you can sit it in the background, it sits there, ticks away, you don't have to think about it too much. And you know that thing on an iPhone where you actually go through and swipe up to get rid of all your apps? You don't do that. The idea is to leave it sitting in the background, quietly minding its own business. But again, at the moment, that's actually not working properly. So they've got 4 million or so people that have downloaded, but they will need to download the updated version once they release that.
Oh, okay. What about Android phones? My Samsung, for instance, I've got an S10. It's sitting in the background. I can see it. I'm looking at it now. What's the story there?
Yeah, so it seems to work much better on Android, and this release seems to be able to sit there in the background. Doesn't really drain much of your battery sitting in the background. Does what it's meant to do, minds its own business. So on Android, it seems to be fine.
Oh, good. And but on Apple, a few problems. I've got to download the update. When's that likely to occur?
Yeah, who knows? They're also going to release the source code. They've been talking about releasing the source code since day one, and here we are over a week into it. And I think, again, we've all agreed that they're dreaming with their 40%, but I think the thing is, if they want people to have more trust and faith in it, releasing that source code as soon as possible is absolutely vital in my opinion, because it's all well and good for the government to say it's okay and the government to say trust us, but if they release that source code, external organisations will also be able to say, we've looked at it, it's not tracking your GPS information, it is okay, it's doing everything they said it will do, so it's okay.
Yeah. Look, we won't go into the privacy issues this morning. We've run out of time, but frankly, they're still of concern to some people. And I see where Strathfield City Council told all their employees to download it. And a couple of employees said, "Oi, no, we don't want to do that," and privacy, so a bit of ruction there. We shall move on.
Absolutely.
Where's number 2 this morning? Oh, yes, the COVID safe. There is the hoax text starting to circulate. What's all that about?
Yeah, and this is part of that privacy concern, and these hoax texts that are going out. For example, one of them was saying, "We've detected you're 20 kilometres from your home base. Please contact MyGov instantly. Let them know why." And of course, there is no GPS tracking, and having the ability for your phone to know that you're 20 kilometres from where you are when you don't even register your address in the COVID app would actually be quite difficult. But again, people are scared about things and people are concerned, and so some people would then immediately log onto their MyGov app. Now, what people are trying to do, what scammers are trying to do, is get you to reveal some details, some of your private details. So when you go to the MyGov app, it wouldn't really be the MyGov site or the MyGov app. It would be something that the scammers have set up to make it look like the MyGov app. And of course, you'd put in your username and password, and then they can go in and access that information, and probably other sites you've got that use the same password. So again, everything you look at, whenever you see some texts come through, some emails come through, have a look at it. And the really important thing, in my opinion, is hovering over any link that you're going to click on to see where it's going to take you. And if it's some random series of characters that just doesn't look like it's the site that it should be, then steer clear. In fact, many organisations say they won't send you any emails and ask you to click on a link, because obviously there are so many scams that do that.
Yeah, like banks and the ATO, for instance. All right, moving away from COVID for a while, this sunrise alarm clock. This is wonderful. Now, we both need this, I suppose, because we love our beds, and we didn't see meteor showers this morning. But a sunrise alarm clock, tell us about that. It's unbelievable.
Well, it is a bit of a jolt being woken up by a loud beeping or some sort of noisy alarm clock. And there are a number of people out there at the moment that are moving towards a sunrise alarm clock. And essentially what it is, it's an alarm clock. Instead of the loud noise, it's got a light. And the light just slowly gets brighter as the alarm time approaches for your alarm to go off. And it's a bit like the sun coming in through the windows or through the blinds, and the room slowly lightens up. Before you know it, you've woken up and you feel quite refreshed. And there is some study to show that waking up to light, whether it be artificial or actual real light, is actually better for you throughout the day than waking up to that jolt of the alarm clock. So for people that have to get up at all sorts of times, for people that just wake up when the sun comes up, good luck to you. But for people that need to get up at all sorts of times at various stages during the morning, radio announcers, for example, then having something like this, I think, is a really good idea.
Yeah, where do I get one? I want one straight away.
Yeah, look, I'm not sure if there's any in town, actually. I know there's 1,000 of them online, but look, maybe some places in town have got them.
All right, I'll look online. Now, this is a most incredible story about the Love Bug's creator. We better tell people what Love Bug is all about. They may have forgotten.
Do you remember the Love Bug?
I do.
Yeah. So 20 years ago, earlier this week, was the 20th anniversary of the Love Bug. And it was probably the world's biggest virus. Well, it was the world's biggest virus at the time. It changed the way we see computer viruses. And there was one the previous year that had a few infections, maybe 1 million or so infections. But the Love Bug, what it did was it got into your computer, then went to your address book, Outlook, or whatever address book you were using, and then sent the email on to everyone in your address book. Now, you can imagine how quickly that would grow. Take your 10,000 closest friends. There's 10,000 emails have gone. All those people have got another number of emails, hundreds of emails, whatever it might be. And the actual attachment that was the attachment that was with it was entitled Love Letter for You. And psychologically, the guy who created this was brilliant. I don't think he was thinking about it too much. He thought, that'd be interesting to open. So entitled Love Letter for You, people couldn't help but open it. And as soon as they double-clicked on that to open it, of course, they infected their computer, and away it went. And it really changed the way antivirus software and computers were looked at in terms of people being able to spread this sort of malicious code around the world. Interestingly enough, and I don't have the exact stat on this, but I remember reading about it at the time, and there were people who were interviewed that had been infected with the Love Bug, that had spread the Love Bug to all the people in their address book, and they said, so, if you received another email that said Love Letter for You, would you open it? And a huge percentage of people said, oh yeah, I probably would actually, because maybe it would be a love letter. And so psychologically, people couldn't help themselves.
Yeah, exactly. It is. It's partial conditioning in psychology is what it's all about.
Yeah.
And,
so it got into the Pentagon. It shut down the UK Parliament for a number of hours. 45 million people or computers were infected around the world. So it really was the first instance of a computer bug really going crazy across the world.
But the creator has said, I did it, I'm sorry, and has admitted his guilt.
Yeah, he was certainly a person of interest during the investigation because they traced it back to an IP address, and I think it was his brother's apartment in Manila. And of course, the brother was saying, I didn't do it, but the particular gentleman himself, Arnold or Guzman, he was a computer science student at the local computer college there. So it was fairly, at the time they were fairly certain that he did it, but they didn't have the proof, but he's now admitted to doing it.
So what's going to happen to him? Anything?
I don't think so. 20 years ago, I think at the moment probably a good time to admit to something. Everyone's so focused on another virus that probably people aren't too concerned about what happened 20 years ago.
Mate, the Air Force, I presume this is the US Air Force, is kickstarting a flying car industry. The Jetsons.
Well, yes, that's exactly right. The US has been on the brink of a flying car revolution for forever, it seems. I mean, there's every week you open up some new article about some flying car. I remember back in 2011 there was a car, it's called the Terrafugia. $227,000 was going to be for a flying car. Now, a lot of people pay that for a car that flies along the ground almost, but they would be happy to pay that sort of money, but it's never really come to fruition. And the Air Force is worried, a bit like drones. You know, drones come along and next thing you know, the Chinese have developed drones and the US feel like they lost a bit of their potential for drones and people having drones there. So they went, we don't want that to happen with the same sort of concept with cars, flying cars. So they've basically created this whole program where they want investors and developers to come together and actually develop flying cars. And they want by 2023 a flying car industry in the US. So they've started this whole program. If you've got some ideas or you've got some investment you want to do, then there's a meeting there in the US, I presume a virtual meeting at this stage, to basically put those two together. The Air Force will be on side. So having the resources of the Air Force, I think, is incredibly important. And they want to get that flying car industry. In fact, they're talking by December 17 this year that they'll actually have some prototypes in their whole process going. So it's interesting.
Well, I would see the advantages of having flying cars to be saving councils and state and federal governments lots of money in road construction.
Yeah, that's true too.
If you've got flying cars, you don't need decent roads. And the only other problem with that is then how high does the flying car go? That's number one. Number two, where do you land them? Parking positions, and of course the third one is they're going everywhere. How many people bash into each other in the air and drop dead with bodies falling out of the sky?
Yeah.
So there's pros and cons, isn't there?
Lots of issues there. So have a look at Agility Prime. When your listeners finish listening to you this morning, go and look at Agility Prime. That's the whole program that the Air Force is launching. They might have some of those questions and answers there that you're talking about. They're all logical sort of questions you're talking there. Vertical takeoff is a big thing that they're focusing on with flying cars, so that the landing is not going to need something like a landing strip like a traditional airport. It's going to be more vertical takeoff, so it's pretty easy for you to land in areas that you just need to be able to come straight down. It does sound pretty scary, doesn't it, sitting there? We have enough accidents with cars on roads. Imagine the accidents we might see when cars are flying 100 metres, 200 metres, who knows how far above us. But maybe we'll be safer. Maybe the fact that you've got the ability to go at different levels rather than just all on the same level on the ground might make them safer. Who knows? It's an area to be explored.
If I've got an air car or a flying car, how do I park it at Riverdale? Underneath?
That's right. Getting underneath the car park might be a bit trickier.
It might be very tricky. It'd have to be a good air pilot or something or other. Finally, Matt, very quickly, Apple have had problems because people are wearing masks and their face recognition system's not working on the phones.
No, look, Apple are really happy with their Face ID system. Back in about 2017, when the X came out, essentially they did away with the fingerprint scanning and went to Face ID. And it was a huge amount of work that went into the Face ID so that it could scan people with glasses and sunglasses and hats and scarves and a whole range of things. They didn't allow for facial masks. In 2017, Apple didn't think that in 2020, a lot of people would be wearing facial masks. So when you try and scan your face...
No one would have guessed that.
No, that's right. No, that's right. I'm being a bit harsh on Apple. But the facial mask obviously covers up a major part of your face. And at the moment, if you've got an iPhone, and the same if you use a Samsung that's got facial recognition, you try and scan it, and it will keep trying to scan a number of times before finally it gives up and says, right, you need to go and put your PIN in the old-fashioned method, put your number in or something on the screen. So what they're doing with their latest iOS, in Apple's case, is they're saying if it recognises a face mask, it immediately goes to your PIN. So it doesn't bypass the security. It's not going to make it easy for someone to put a face mask on and steal your phone and pretend to be you. But what it does do is it stops the waiting of trying to keep using the facial recognition, the Face ID, to try and get in and then finally giving up. As soon as it sees that face mask, it goes straight to the PIN. So not in the current iOS, but in the new iOS that comes out, you'll see that come through. Not
a bad idea. I use fingerprint recognition, and if you've got a dirty finger, it doesn't work.
Yeah, look, all the biometrics...
Wash your hands.
That's right. And all the biometrics have got limitations, so you've always got that fallback position of putting a pin in anyway, but it does make it quicker most of the time, whether it be fingerprint, whether it be face. It just makes it easier to use.
It does indeed. Matt, good talking with you, mate. We'll catch up with you next Wednesday. Thanks for Tech Talk this week.
My pleasure. One day we might sit in the studio again together.
Well, yes, it would be good because I like our little chats before and after. We only have those on the phone now.
That's
yeah,
right.
one day. It's lonely again in here. There was another person in here yesterday, our accountant,
Right.
and it was a different story. It was nice having someone in the building,
Yeah.
but I'm back to being lonely again.
Yep. Yeah, well, hopefully that'll start to relax a little bit. Hopefully we're going well with it.
I hope so. Just on that, and you might like to spread the word too. When a business reopens in Dubbo, we here at DCFM 88.9 as a community service want to broadcast that fact. So we'll broadcast the location of that business reopening, their opening hours, and of course where they are. And we're going to do that free of charge. So you might like to spread the word on that one too.
Yeah.
I just think we all thought it was a good community service that we do that and let people know that, you know, eventually it's going to be a thrill to say, hey, the commercial, the bunch of, the pubs are open again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right. And that seems to be the longest one, doesn't it? Pubs. I wouldn't like to have pubs. I really feel for some of those pub owners, and some of them in Dubbo have invested a lot of money and have got some great pubs and they've had great businesses going along, and suddenly out of the blue this comes along. So pretty tough for a lot of people out there.
Yeah, well, look at the new pastoral. I love the way what they've done to the pastoral. Well, what they've done to the bunch of it, that matter, the commercial, all of them. They're all looking very, very good. They're all looking very, very good. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, great shame. But anyway, hopefully we're on the way slowly back, Richard.
Indeed. So if you are a business out there listening and you're home and you are going to open up, say Friday, Saturday, let us know, admin at dcfm889.com.au, and we will tell people that you are open, where you are, and your hours of opening.
Yeah, excellent.
All good.
Thanks, Richard.
All right, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Matt Dickerson and Tech Talk, and we hear him around about 9:25 every Wednesday morning here on DCFM 88.9. Here's Billy Swan. Oh, look, I can help. I really can. DCFM 88.9.